gunfire, betrayal, and a treasure that could kill. This is the world of Blood Diamond, where every choice costs more than you think. In Sierra Leone, 1999, amid civil war over diamonds, Solomon, a simple fisherman, wakes his eldest, Dia, before dawn. The boy eagerly walks 5 kilometers to school, dreaming of a future beyond the river. But then, armed rebels roll into the village and immediately start gunning people down. No warning, no hesitation. These men are savage. They don't flinch when they shoot women. They don't blink when they shoot children. The village turns into a slaughterhouse in minutes. Solomon hides his son and sprints toward his wife and younger kids. He gets them out of the house, but the rebels tackle him to the ground. One young guy gets his hand chopped off with an axe. Solomon was supposed to be next, but the commander takes one look at him and decides this one's built for labor. Too strong, too useful to waste. He's going to the diamond mines instead. After wiping out the villagers, the rebels torch the entire place. See, the diamonds they dig up go straight toward buying more weapons. Captain Poison tells the slaves that the Revolutionary Front just liberated them. So really, they should be grateful. One of the captives finds a small stone barely the size of a grain of rice and hides it in his mouth. Poison finds the diamond and executes the man on the spot. Everyone sees it happen. Everyone understands. You steal, you die. Which is exactly why what happens next is so insane. Solomon is digging in the mud when he accidentally uncovers something that makes his heart nearly stop. A massive pink diamond. A stone this size, this color. It could be worth millions. But Solomon just watched a man get killed over a pebble. So where do you hide something this big when you're a slave surrounded by armed guards? His pulse is racing, and then a loud explosion. The water pump nearby blows up. Every guard, every soldier turns to look. Solomon doesn't hesitate. He crouches down, tucks the diamond between his toes, and asks to use the bathroom. But Captain Poison noticed something off. He blocks Solomon's path and searches him top to bottom, every pocket, every fold of clothing. Finds nothing. The diamond is pressed against the sole of his foot. Solomon walks to a secluded spot, wraps the stone in a scrap of cloth, and is about to bury it when he feels cold metal against the back of his head. Poison followed him. The commander didn't buy it for a second. Solomon is a heartbeat away from handing over the diamond, and his life is about to end, but then luck. Government troops launch a surprise attack. A bomb lands right next to the two of them. Poison is badly wounded, hit in the eye. Solomon seizes the moment and runs. He finds a dry tree near the river and buries the diamond there. Seconds later, government soldiers grab him, and that's how he ends up in prison in the cell right next to Danny Archer. Now, Danny, he's a white man born and raised in Africa, and he's one of the sickest black market diamond smugglers on the continent. Wherever there are diamonds, Danny shows up. It's a profession where one wrong move gets you killed. But Danny's been doing this long enough to sharpen every instinct. He can spot a setup before it happens, talk his way out of a robbery, and move product across borders like a ghost. That same week, Danny had scored another batch of diamonds from the rebels. One low-level commander tried to shortchange him, which almost cost him his shipment of RPGs, so the guy ended up handing over a decent handful of stones. After all, to get the diamonds out, Danny disguised himself as a magazine journalist and hired local shepherds for cover. The stones were sewn under the skin of a goat. Crossing into Liberia, the border officer got suspicious. Danny tried to bribe his way out, but for the first time in his career, it didn't work. He got arrested and hauled off to the capital, Freetown. In jail, Poison, bandaged, half-blind, but very much alive, starts screaming across the whole building that Solomon has a giant pink diamond hidden somewhere. He offers a fortune to anyone who will cut Solomon open and dig it out. Solomon loses it, calls him insane, screams that these animals took his family. Danny hears every word and his mind starts working. See, Danny understands the value of that pink diamond far better than Solomon ever could. A stone like that isn't just money. It's freedom. With that diamond, Danny could pay off every debt, escape the colonel's grip, and leave Africa forever. That pink rock is his ticket out of this hell. Danny's buddy gets him out of jail quickly. First order of business, he needs cash. Back at his hotel room, Danny takes out a dagger and pries out one of his own teeth. Hidden inside the crown is a small diamond. This was his emergency stash, the kind of thing you only touch when you're really desperate. He cashes it in for a fat stack of bills. His people also bail Solomon out of prison and slip him some money so he doesn't end up back inside for being broke. Solomon has no idea why strangers are helping him. He doesn't think about it much. The only thing on his mind is finding his family. At a bar in Freetown, Danny has a meeting with the owner, not for drinks, but to order a pistol. That's when he notices Maddie Bowen across the room. She's American. She's sharp. And honestly, Danny's first thought is just to charm his way into her night. But after a few minutes of conversation, he realizes she's a journalist. Worse, she immediately clocks him as a diamond smuggler. Danny hates the press. He tells her to get lost, but Maddie doesn't go anywhere. She's writing about the blood diamond trade, and she's determined to expose the biggest players behind it. Danny shuts her down completely and walks away, but Maddie follows him to the bar. This time, Danny doesn't hold back. He tells her she's not as noble as she thinks, that she's part of the problem too, because it's American women dreaming of fairy tale weddings and sparkling rings that make these diamonds worth killing for. If nobody wanted the stones, nobody would smuggle them. Maddie fires back. Not every American woman wants a fairy tale wedding. Just like not every African makes a living by killing each other. Every day, people here do good things. Clearly, Danny just isn't one of those people. They part on bad terms again. While Danny was out, his apartment got ransacked by Cordell. Cordell works for the Colonel, the man Danny was supposed to deliver that batch of diamonds to. Seeing the trashed room, Danny immediately realizes what happened. His own accomplice ratted him out, told the Colonel about the pink diamond. In a place like this, trust is the cheapest thing there is. Danny knew that, but still made his blood boil. He punched Cordell square in the face as payback for the smashed-up room, then promised the Colonel would get his money. Not long after, Danny flies to South Africa to meet with the Colonel himself. The man invites him for tea at his estate because warlords apparently do that. The Colonel runs the biggest private military company in the region, classic double dealer. He sells weapons to the rebels and simultaneously gets paid by the government to crush them. War is just business, and business is booming. Danny has followed this man since he was a boy. He served under him, fought for him, and now runs contraband for him. The Colonel already knows about the pink diamond, and he wants it. He reminds Danny that the deal fell apart, that he owes money, and that the stone would square the debt. Then the Colonel does something Danny won't forget. He picks up a handful of red African dirt, holds it in front of Danny's face, and tells him this is his home, that he'll never leave Africa. Danny knows the Colonel's methods. He knows his brutality. So, he swallows his pride and focuses on the task. Gets Solomon to cooperate. Back in Sierra Leone, Danny tracks down Solomon, but the man wants nothing to do with him. He insists he's never seen any pink diamond. Meanwhile, the rebels are busy brainwashing the young captives. They tell the kids they're not children anymore. They're men now. They shove a Kalashnikov into Jia's hands and order him to fire at a wall. He's blindfolded. The kid has no idea he just killed a person. That evening, Poison promotes him to captain. Stick with the rebels, and the boy can have anything he wants. To make the children even easier to control, the rebels pump them full of drugs, turning them into numb, obedient zombies. Young fighters spray automatic fire and wipe out entire villages without showing any emotion. Jia always rushes to the front. All foreigners are advised to get out of Freetown. Solomon gets a job at a hotel, hoping to find a buyer for the diamond. Danny shows up and tells Solomon he's the only one who can help find his family. In return, he wants half of whatever the stone is worth. Solomon hesitates. Right then, rebels storm the city and open fire on civilians with mounted machine guns. Our guys run between cars, try not to get killed. These psychos spare no one, not women, not children. Government troops open fire from the other side of the street and mow down the people who managed to survive the first wave. Then the soldiers themselves get blown apart by RPGs and machine gun fire. Survivors are lined up against a wall and executed. The rebels take the capital and celebrate their victory. Surrounded by corpses amid the chaos and gunfire, Danny keeps working on Solomon. The man is shaking, terrified, and finally agrees to cooperate. The road out of Freetown is guarded by 3 rebels. Danny comes up with a plan. He tells Solomon to act like a rebel fighter. While Danny pretends to be a captured prisoner, the rebels buy it. The moment they let their guard down, Danny draws his pistol and drops all three. Then he picks up a rebel sniper rifle and nails a fourth one, fleeing in the distance. Solomon watches the whole thing. He's starting to realize just how ruthless this man really is. They join a massive column of refugees. Danny meets up with Maddie and proposes a deal. He'll give her everything she needs to expose Vandop if she uses her press credentials to access the UN database and help Solomon find his family. Danny knows that to get the pink diamond, he has to take care of Solomon first, and the only way to do that is to reunite him with his family. Maddie sees through the scheme immediately. She knows a petty, profit-driven smuggler wouldn't help a random fisherman out of the goodness of his heart. There's obviously a diamond involved, but she's a journalist with a conscience. If it means saving people, she doesn't care about the rest. Maddie quickly locates Solomon's family. They're in a refugee camp in neighboring Guinea. The three of them fly in by helicopter. What they find is hard to wrap your head around. Over 1 million people crammed into this camp. An entire country homeless. Soon, Solomon's wife and younger children are brought to him. But Dia isn't with them. That's how Solomon learns that the rebels took his son. He's devastated because he's seen firsthand what happens to children trained as soldiers. He knows exactly what they'll turn Dia into. The military believes rebels could be hiding among the refugees, so nobody's getting out until the fighting's over. Solomon's wife and kids are stuck here. Now Solomon has to hold up his end of the deal and show where the diamond is buried. But to get through rebel territory, they'll need to pose as journalists, which means Danny needs Maddie's help. Danny decides it's time to lay everything on the table. He explains the full supply chain, how the blood diamond trade actually works. He smuggles raw diamonds across the border into neighboring countries. Local buyers hand them off to middlemen. The middlemen bribe customs officials to certify that the stones were legally mined domestically. And just like that, conflict diamonds become clean and get exported to Europe. And the man at the top of this whole chain, Van Diep, on one hand, he hoards massive quantities of diamonds to control supply and keep prices sky high. On the other, he does everything in his power to keep the war going because if the rebels' diamonds ever hit the open market directly, prices would collapse. War is good for business. Danny has names. He has account numbers. Sharing this information could get him killed, but he's hoping to find the diamond and disappear forever. He tells Maddie she can publish everything, but only after he gets the stone. Otherwise, he's a dead man. Danny gets Solomon onto a press bus, but an ambush is waiting up ahead. During the firefight, Solomon, good-hearted as always, saves a child. But the bus is full, so the three of them jump into a smaller truck. Turns out that saves their lives. The rebels wipe out everyone on the bus. Danny, Solomon, and Maddie escape into the jungle. We cut to the rebel base. Dia's brainwashing continues along with all the other kids. The one-eyed commander has turned him into a killing machine. Back with our group, they run into hostile commotors, local militia fighting against both the rebels and the military. They're just protecting their homes. Maddie wins them over quickly, and the group is taken to a hidden compound run by Benjamin Capney. Compared to the war-torn wasteland outside, this place feels like a different world. The children here are all former child soldiers, but under Benjamin's patient teaching and real care, they've returned to being actual kids. Laughing, playing, innocent. Benjamin is a man who believes there's no real line between good and evil in people. Even the worst villain in a single moment of kindness can make life more meaningful. Danny listens to these words, and for once, he actually thinks about them. That evening, under the glow of a fire, palm wine flowing, children singing in the background. Danny opens up to Maddie for the first time in his life. He tells her the truth. When he was 9 years old, rebels killed his mother. Then they beheaded his father. The war took everything from him. At 19, he followed the colonel and became a mercenary. He fought, he killed. He told himself it was for peace, for something bigger. But eventually, he realized it was never about peace and certainly not about ending racial hatred. It was only ever about money. So he went solo, became a smuggler, stopped pretending he was fighting for anything noble. But now he just wants out, a quiet life somewhere far from all of this, and that pink diamond is his only way to get there. Maddie can see it's tearing him up. Without thinking, she takes his hand. Something shifts between them. The next morning, Benjamin drives the group through rebel territory. At the first checkpoint, two kids with Kalashnikovs stop them. Benjamin starts talking to them like they're his old students and immediately catches a bullet. Danny floors it. They make it to the colonel's base, where Benjamin receives medical treatment. The colonel is ready to destroy everything in sight to find that diamond. He's preparing to personally lead his troops to Kono, right where they're headed, and demands Danny come along. But Danny knows the truth. If he goes with the colonel's army, he won't see a speck of diamond dust. The colonel will take it all. So after leaving the tent, he asks Maddie to distract the guards near the armory so he can steal weapons and go with Solomon alone. Maddie understands what this means. This trip is more dangerous than anything they've faced. The odds of Danny coming back alive are slim. She can only nod through her tears. Danny hands her all the evidence he's gathered. The names, the account numbers, everything. If he dies in Kono, she can still expose the truth. That's the deal. With Maddie's help, Danny grabs the weapons. And then comes the goodbye. After everything they've been through, the fights, the danger, the late-night conversations, there's something real between them now. But this might be the last time they see each other, and they both know it. Before she leaves, Maddie does something she's never done before. She takes a photo of Danny. Then she gives him her phone numbers, office, home, and mobile. All three. In the past, men always chased her. This time, she's the one making the first move. She asks if he'll call. Danny says he will. As soon as he finds a phone, she doesn't buy it for a second. The two partners take off into the jungle. A serious trek lies ahead. Along the way, Danny asks Solomon about the diamond. When he hears it's at least 100 carats, his heavy steps get just a little bit lighter, like freedom is suddenly within reach. At night, several trucks full of rebels drive past. Solomon thinks he spots his son and calls out to him. Gunfire erupts from every direction. They have to run for their lives again. Danny and Solomon hide under branches so they won't be spotted. In the morning, the furious smuggler threatens to cut his partner's head off if he ever pulls something like that again. But something changes after that. On the road, the two stop talking about diamonds and start talking about their lives. Slowly, carefully, they begin to actually trust each other. Danny even promises he'll help rescue Diameter. Soon, they reach a village where nearly every resident has been killed. Only one old man remains. He mutters that they better hope nobody finds oil here, because then they'd really be screwed. Solomon pushes on toward the next village where the rebels are running wild. He still believes he can save his son, but that doesn't exactly fit Danny's plan. A fight breaks out between them. Danny even pulls his gun. Solomon screams that his son is alive, that he's with these lunatics, and that he has to find him. He can't go on living without knowing. Danny sees it in the man's eyes. Solomon isn't backing down. Not now, not ever. So they wait for nightfall and sneak into the rebel camp. Solomon doesn't find his son there. The partners finally reach the diamond mines. The stone is hidden past the camp near the river. Danny contacts the colonel to send a chopper. While the helicopter draws the rebels' attention, they'll grab the diamond. It's a dangerous gamble. Once the colonel shows up, Danny loses all leverage. But there's no better option. He can only hope to use the chaos of battle to sneak in, dig up the stone, and get out. But Solomon goes off script again. He's sure Jia is inside the camp, and once the shooting starts, his son could die. So under cover of darkness, Solomon slips and a lone Danny follows and takes out a sentry. Solomon sees Jia playing cards with the other child soldiers. He quietly calls out to his son, but the boy shoves his father away and says he doesn't know him. Jia starts shouting that there's an enemy in the camp. Solomon is grabbed and dragged to Commander Poison. The one-eyed commander tore the whole area apart looking for the diamond, but never found it. He threatens Solomon. Hand over the stone, or he'll hunt down what's left of his family and take his sweet time killing them. Right on cue, the colonel's attack helicopter arrives and starts tearing the base apart. Some rebels are shredded by rockets. Others are cut down by machine gun fire. The PMC guys intend to wipe out every last soul. Danny joins the fight. He knows exactly what he needs to do. Protect Diameter, because Jia is the only leverage that will make Solomon talk. So despite bullets flying everywhere, Danny risks his own life to shield the boy. On the other side of the chaos, Solomon finally gets his revenge. He lunges at Poison and smashes his skull with a shovel. The one-eyed commander is done. With absolute firepower advantage, the rebels are wiped out quickly. The colonel takes full control of the base. He demands to be shown where the diamond is. If Danny can't convince his buddy, they both get a bullet. But Solomon refuses to cooperate. So Danny brings Gia to the colonel. For his son, the man would do anything. Solomon has no choice. He leads a small squad to the diamond. The burial spot has already been dug up and ravaged by the rebels. Solomon forces himself to keep digging. Both he and Danny know, the second that diamond comes out of the ground, they're dead. Danny casually asks one of the soldiers for a cigarette. Gets refused. Meanwhile, Solomon puts his trust in Danny, willing to risk everything on one last play. He pretends to find the stone. Danny seizes the moment and kills the nearest soldier. Solomon attacks the colonel. Danny ducks into the trees, then doubles back and coldly finishes the colonel off. Very soon after, Solomon actually digs up the diamond, but during the firefight, Danny took a bullet to the abdomen. Suddenly, Gia blocks their path, gun raised, pointed right at Danny. Then the barrel swings towards Solomon. The boy's eyes are wild, empty. The rebels broke something inside him. Solomon speaks to his son. He reminds him that he's a good student, that he loves football, that his family is waiting for him. He tells Gia that they made him do terrible things, but he's not a terrible person, and that Solomon is his father. Gia's hand trembles. The gun lowers. Solomon wraps his arms around the boy and holds him tight. Right then, mercenaries open fire on them. They have to run. Danny grabs the diamond and calls his contact to send a plane. The landing point is a small airstrip on the mountain ahead, 10 kilometers of rough terrain away. The contact tells him to get rid of the fisherman and his kid. But Danny's losing too much blood. He's getting weaker by the minute. Solomon carries him up the hill on his own shoulders. But halfway up, Danny has nothing left. He can barely breathe. He knows this is it. He's not making it out. Danny takes out the pink diamond. This pale pink stone. This is what he traded his life for. Freedom was right there in his hand, and he'll never get to spend it. For a moment, the regret hits him, but only for a moment. He hands the diamond to Solomon. Then he gives him Maddie's business card and a pistol and warns him not to trust the contact. He tells Solomon to get the kid home. Just get him home. Father and son run toward the plane. The enemy is closing in behind them. Danny props himself up, sets up his rifle, and starts firing, covering their escape. He keeps shooting until the last round is spent. When he sees Solomon and Gia disappear safely into the distance, he lets out a long breath. Then he picks up the satellite phone and calls Maddie. At first, she's happy to hear his voice, but the heavy, ragged breathing on the other end tells her everything. Her heart sinks. Danny tells her to pick up Solomon and his son. No matter what, help them. Maddie, fighting back tears, says she's glad they found each other. Danny tells her he's glad he met her, too. Then he says the view from up here is something else, and that he wishes she was here to see it. The colonel's helicopter roars overhead. Danny barely notices. He reaches down and grabs a handful of dirt beside him. It's soaked red, half African soil, half his own blood. And the colonel's words come back to him, that this is his home, that he'd never leave Africa. Turns out the colonel was right. Danny was born on this land, and this is where he dies. The sun drops low, the sky turns gold, and Danny closes his eyes. Maddie brings Solomon to London. He meets with Vanip's representative, but he refuses to sell the diamond right away. First, the billionaire has to get his family out of Africa. Vandop holds up his end of the deal. Solomon is finally reunited with his wife and all his children, including Gia, and he walks away with £2 million in cash. As for Maddie, she writes the best article of her career. Armed with Danny's evidence, she exposes the billionaire for bankrolling the war. And Solomon stands up as the key witness, telling the whole world what really goes on in Africa's diamond mines. It's a story that forces us to look at the real human cost of the things we value. Blood Diamond isn't just an action-packed thriller about smuggling conflict diamonds. It's a story about greed, survival, and the human cost of war. Danny doesn't just chase wealth. He confronts the brutal reality that the diamonds he seeks are soaked in blood. Freedom isn't just escaping captivity. It's taking responsibility for the world around you. You can fight for justice, but but you can't ignore the lives crushed to fund your desires. The Moxie shows that even the purest intentions are tangled in the consequences of human greed. Flick fact number 1. The movies Blood Diamonds are based on real conflict diamonds mined in Sierra Leone during the 1990s, funding civil wars and atrocities. Flick fact number 2. Leonardo DiCaprio's character, Danny, was inspired by journalists and smugglers who navigated the moral gray zones of the diamond trade. My conclusion is that Blood Diamond is a story about morality, responsibility, and the cost of choices. Gritty, intense, and emotionally raw, the Moxie shows that wealth can't be separated from human suffering. It asks one crucial question. If profit came at the cost of someone else's life, could you live with yourself? On the Flick verdict scale, this movie is a must-watch. It's gripping, ethically challenging, and unforgettable. Bottom line, every diamond has a price, and someone always pays it. If you could choose profit over human life, would you? Let me know in the comments.